Recently, mainland Chinese students studying for a Master of Arts in Chinese at the City University of Hong Kong requested that the teacher use Putonghua as the medium of instruction, as they have little understanding of Cantonese. Local students insisted that Cantonese, the course's designated language of instruction, should remain as the medium of instruction. After this incident was published in the local press, the university announced in an internal email that the teacher would use Cantonese as the medium of instruction, but use Putonghua to explain key points. Hong Kong's tertiary institutions do request that both local and non-local postgraduate students should have a certain level of English before being admitted to courses. Some even encourage non-local students to learn Cantonese, but there's likely to be more pressure as more mainland students apply. Currently, over 60% of the postgraduate students at the 8 University Grant Committee funded institutions are from the mainland. Fewer than 10% are from the rest of the world. There is no limit on how many non-local students can be admitted for research postgraduate programs.
Well, isn't it all very simple? Shouldn't students who are admitted to local universities be able to speak the course's language of instruction? With us in the studio are former Secretary for Education and Manpower, Joseph Wong, legislator Ip Kin Yoon, who represents the education sector, and Professor Chak Wong from the Chinese University. Joseph Wong, can I come to you first? As Minister for Education in 1998, you introduced the programme to encourage mainland undergraduate students to come to Hong Kong. Why did you do that?
That's correct. I think, first of all, because we always have postgraduate mainland students in our universities who are doing very well. But we never have any undergraduate university university students remain at that time. After the handover or reunification, I thought it might be a good idea if we attract some really top-notch undergrad students to come and study in Hong Kong universities. But I must hasten to add, this move is only one step of my vision at that time, which is to have more international universities in Hong Kong. So mainland students is just one step to internationalize our universities.
Well, let me ask Professor Wong, because you're obviously still teaching in the university here. How's that working out, internationalization of Hong Kong universities?
It depends on what you mean by internationalization. Like, it means by having non-Hong Kong students, then the percentage actually is quite low. In Hong Kong University, Chinese University, and HKUST, actually at the top 50 rankings, the top 100 ranking, depends on how you rank it, in the world. And the percentage, I believe, is actually one of the lowest in the world. Even if you count like more than 90% of the undergraduate students are actually from one city, meaning Hong Kong, which is very rare. If you ask like Harvard, like how many students are from Boston, you will find a surprisingly low number. So, and any famous universities in the top 100 ranking will have a very high percentage of students not from that particular cities which the university is staying in.
All your focus is on quality. You don't really mind where they come from.
Well, it depends on what we want our university to be. Do we want them to be top-ranking universities in the world, or do we want them to be community college? Right? These are very different visions, right? And I believe that students should be admitted by merit and by merit only.
Well, let me ask Mr. Ip. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we do have conflict in universities between mainlanders and local students over language of instruction and other things. Do you think this is really a problem, or is it just some passing phase?
Well, I think there is a certain problem, but it's not as big as many people think. Well, the problem now we are facing is that, from a point of view, many of the Hong Kong students are not being able to get into the research post bachelor degree programs.
Could that be because they're not good enough?
Yes, there can be many reasons. So we have to look into why that situation is there, and we should probe into it and to find out ways to get Hong Kong citizens more educated, and that is very important to let Hong Kong people have a much higher education achievement than nowadays.
May I disagree here, actually? The number of postgraduate students entering into university or entering the postgraduate program for Hong Kong actually is extremely high. I mean, the figures speaks the truth. So if you talk about research programs, right, each year close to, including coming to Hong Kong or going abroad for postgraduate university students, almost 10 to 15% of the undergraduate students actually go into research programs. And then actually for taught program, even just in Hong Kong alone, there are about more than 20,000 taught postgraduate students. But each year, there's only 15,000 undergraduate students graduating from Hong Kong. So the number of postgraduate places actually is way more than the number of undergraduate students. So in fact, I mean, I think our main problem is we have too many of this.
Well, let me ask Mr. Wong, as a matter of public policy, should it be public policy that in universities the emphasis is on local students? Does the government have an obligation to basically say, we're here to look after our own people?
Well, I think you have to look at it in two ways. First of all, in terms of an undergraduate program, mind you, the government and the taxpayers subsidize 85% of the cost. So surely you would expect the majority of our local students should get the benefit. So I totally disagree that Hong Kong taxpayers, in order to get the best from the world, is subsidizing the best students from the world. Research program, we are more flexible because we understand that we really want to get the best to do our research programs. Top programs, most of the top programs these days are self-financing. So in that respect, universities also have a lot of flexibility to really recruit the best from the world, from the region, and not to have a fixed percentage on the number of local students. But in that respect, I do also believe, after all, we are local universities serving the needs of local students. So maybe there should be a bit of a balance.
Let's take what you've just said, and if I may return to the language issue. I mean, there is a feeling in Hong Kong now that Hong Kong people want to retain their identity more strongly, and this is expressed through speaking Cantonese. So what do you think? Do you think universities should in fact be emphasizing Cantonese?
Well, I think in Hong Kong we used to have two languages. One is Chinese, one is English.
But by Chinese, it's specifically Cantonese that people actually speak.
Well, if you look back to the history of Hong Kong and two languages, both languages are very important in Hong Kong. And we speak Cantonese as a daily use language with our relatives in our family. But when we went to work places or went to study, English is often a very important language. So I think we have been adopting a policy to both languages, written and spoken in Hong Kong. So we expect all the students are able to speak both languages.
But your point of view, I believe, is that actually the medium of instruction should simply be English.
Well, I believe that the language of instruction should be what actually the modern world requires it to be. So, and we can talk about cultural identity and things like that, but I believe that I teach in a business school. Now try to get a student who speak Cantonese only into business world these days. I just don't think it works.
It depends on the program.
I'm sure it does, but I'm really sorry, we're out of time.
Okay.
And we'll be back at the same time next week. Until then, goodbye.
Choose your own ground.